Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are tuning in from. This is the BS Buddies podcast. Happy Veterans Day. We figured we talk about it because we have a veteran who does this podcast.
Where? Where is he? I want to meet him. He sounds like a cool guy.
Look in a mirror.
Hey, there's a mirror right there. I can see myself.
So, I also have some family members who have served and just wanted to take some time on this Monday to just talk about veteran stuff, and if Ian's got some stories about being in the service, and just kind of go from there.
All kinds of fun stuff. I was really hoping you were going to say vet, because then I was going to make a veterinarian joke, but, you know. Yeah, I'm a combat veterinarian. What does that mean? I'm out there under fire fixing up the horses that are pulling the wagons and the cannons and all that out there.
I mean, there is one army that had a grizzly bear or
Yeah,
some kind of bear.
the Poles actually in World War II. I know this story. All right, you know what? We're going to start this off because congratulations, you get to see a little nugget of the infinite amount of scattered wisdom that I keep in my brain for no reason other than I saw it once and it was really cool. So it was a Polish artillery group, and they found this. I believe he was a little cub at the time that they found him, and he was brown bear or grizzly, one of the two, and they raised him essentially, and they named him. I don't know how to say this in Polish, so I'm gonna butcher this to high heaven, but they named him Wojtek or Wojtek or something along those lines. It's like
Wojtek.
Wojtek or
It's either
something like that.
Wojtek or Wotek.
Yeah, Wojtek or Wotek or something like that. And they trained him actually to be able to carry ammo crates and artillery rounds from the trucks to the guns, and then like he would sit in the gun position with them as they're firing and like pick up shells. And I gotta say, I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh my god, a bear, that's crazy. That is genius. You know how heavy those freaking 155 shells are? They're like 120 pounds a piece. And these are heavy things moving them suckers. So that thing was their gun ammo carrier for him. And I think the story goes is that he actually went on to survive the war, and then he got adopted into a zoo, I believe, out there in Poland. And then his unit members would come by that zoo every so often, and they'd throw him cigarettes and little liquor bottles because they'd feed him cigarettes and liquor while they were in the military. So, that bear loved it.
I know there's some dogs, and I think there's a cat too that has served as well.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There was it with the British Navy? I believe she was with the British Navy. I don't remember her name, but they called her Unsinkable Sam. I think it was Unsinkable Sam. Maybe she was with the U.S. Navy. Either the British or the U.S. Navy. I can't quite remember, but she was a cat that had become a ship cat because she was really good at hunting the mice and the rodents that ran around the ship. And obviously the crew love to have a good mascot when they're out at sea. And the ship that she was on was eventually hit and sunk and went down while she was found adrift on a piece of wood, in the ocean amongst the debris and the survivors. So she was picked up. And then the next ship she got stationed on also was hit and went down. And once again, she managed to survive and get rescued. And so she was given the moniker Unsinkable Sam, I think it was. There's lots of videos on YouTube that cover it, but there's been a lot of animals that have done heroic deeds actually throughout military history, and it's quite amazing when you look at it because it's you think of conflict, especially of the human scale, as being something that is very like intricate. Like we're really good at hurting each other, and then you would think animals have no part of that. They got nothing to do with that, but they're just as caught up in it as we are, you know.
And then there's that one psychopath who served in World War One. Then the next war, whatever, there was another war after, and then World War Two. and like he got shot in the face. I think he survived 2 plane crashes. And then he was asked after the 3 wars he fought in, and he's like, "Well, quite frankly, I enjoyed the war."
Yes, it's a lot of
Like,
fun.
I can't remember his name, but like, just look up the unkillable soldier. Like he probably got like 6 Purple Hearts and
Yeah,
just kept going.
I think he like lost an eye. He
Yep.
had like a leg that was stiff or something like that. Yeah, and frankly, I enjoyed the war. It's truly when you look at like the history of conflict, it has produced some absolutely insane things. And as you know, Joe, and as a lot of you out there are finding out either from previous episodes or this one now, I'm a huge history nerd, and so there's a YouTube channel I love to watch. Yarn Hub or Simple History or animated whatever on YouTube, they do all kinds of stories of things like this from the past conflicts in the world, of just amazing stories that you would never ever, one in a million years, guess what happened, but boom, there it is, it occurred.
Yeah, one show Debbie and I like to watch is the Infographic Show, which they do a lot of different stuff. One was on the Unkillable Soldier. They have a lot about like different serial killers, and they'll do like timelines, and it's all like cartoon animated, really cool.
Oh
Um, but not to go too off topic. Um,
yeah.
I was gonna say in the town that I live in, there's like we went to the cemetery, and there's one guy. It showed that he served in World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. Just like crazy.
Oh man, that is such a wide spread of conflicts, and each one of them is so different in their own way. I can't imagine going, excuse me, through all three of those conflicts.
Yeah,
And
especially when you start off with World War II, and it's like I'm gonna sign back up, and then you're put in
and
cold Korea, and then I want a warmer temp. Let's go to Vietnam.
Korea was a little bit cold for my taste. Let's try this one more time. I hear this Vietnam has got some tropic sunny scenes going on, and then you go down into the freaking blistering hellhole of Vietnam, freaking hot leeches falling off trees and dropping on you and latching on. Oh God. It's a little weird because I suppose, from a perspective of people who haven't served, but when I say thank God I was in Afghanistan, thank God, I don't know that I could I don't know that I could handle going to freaking jungle temperatures where it's just like 98 degrees with 100% humidity all day long. Every breath of air is also a drink of water. Holy schmolies, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
uh,
Um, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I, I was just gonna say my grandpa served in the Korean War, and he didn't talk about it too much, but I got to like see his. I don't know what it's actually called, but basically his yearbook, and got to see like his platoon and all that. And one Veterans Day, me and my cousins asked him like, "What, what do you remember about Korea?" And his quote was, "It was cold as shit," and that's all he said.
That's how you know he wasn't lying.
Yeah, he didn't
It
go
was
too much into the
cold
war, but
shit.
yeah, we got to see some of the memorabilia he had. We could never find his dog tags. They got misplaced. I would have really loved to see those, just because. But
Something to have and hold on to. And yeah, that's always, I mean, that it's situations like those, that was my big, I guess, inspiration for joining the military. Like I remember my grandfather, he was in the army in Korea, and he was a recoilless rifle operator. And one day going through the house, gosh, I think I must have been probably like 7, 8, 9 years old. I was very young, and I found a picture of him and his three buddies, and they're all lined up in their chucks, looking real good. And where he went to training was, I believe, it was the same training camp that had the 101st Airborne during World War II. And so he had that Screaming Eagle patch. He wasn't part of the Airborne, but I think wherever he trained at the time, you were allowed to have one of those patches because it didn't say Airborne, but it was definitely the iconic Screaming Eagle patch of the 101st Airborne. I just remember asking him about it, and he'd tell me a little story here or there, and that was kind of like the stars in my eyes moment. That sounds so cool. What 8-year-old dreams of firing a weapon that is several times bigger than them and can destroy a truck? And
You.
yeah, me.
My grandpa
So
was also in the army during Korea, but I I was thinking like would they have fought together? But like we're both from the same area. I feel like they would have hung out a lot more if they
oh
did.
yeah.
But um, one
It's
one oh go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna go to something else.
I was just going to say it is rather funny when you get in the service and you find people that are from the same area as you, because um, granted, I don't know how they did it back in the day. Maybe they kept people from the same geographic or demographical area together. But in the military today, when you join, they put you where they need you. Obviously, you can write down your preferences. Hey, I'd like to do this job if it's available. But if that job is filled up or they're not taking any openings for anyone, they'll okay, well, put you into the next place. And so when you actually meet people who are from your area, it's like that Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other and go, "Oh, you're from the same place in the country that I am." Like we had in my unit, we had this fella. I'll just say his name was S. S was a nice guy. He was one of our Motor T cats. And for anyone who's not familiar, Motor T stands for motor transport. They're the guys who work on our trucks, keep them up and running. When you got like big long convoys, they're the ones who are driving the heavy equipment trucks. And a lot of times people like to, we like to dunk on our Motor T cats and call them kind of knuckle draggers, dum dums. But truly and honestly, they are absolute godsends. I mean, I tell you what, some of those vehicles, I don't know how in the world we managed to actually keep them drivable, but they work their Motor T magic. And so S was one of our Motor T cats, is what we called him. And he was from Wilmer. And I found that out and I started to just give him so much crap. Like every time I saw him, hey, what up, man? You thinking about going home to Wilmer? You might as well just go and move to the cities, man. he would just fire right back at me. So
for
that was always fun.
for those of you who don't know how close that is to Ian, I'm not gonna say where he lives, but it's within a 2 hour drive.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how
like a
close.
it's within like a 2 hour window. And even when given the fact that you think, of the entire military, right? The Navy, the Army, and the Air Force are the biggest ones. Like I think it's Army's the biggest, and then Navy, and then Air Force. Like just like millions, personnel numbers in the millions. The Marine Corps has about 180 to 190,000 active members at any given time. So significantly smaller. And so the odds of A, not only running into someone from Minnesota, but B, running into someone that I could probably have seen on a drive down to Valley Fair someday, like, it was pretty funny. So him and we didn't hang out a lot, but like anytime I saw him, it's, hey man, what's going on? What's up? And so that was pretty cool.
There's like I said, I know multiple people, and this guy I got to meet through work. Like older guy, just super cool. Told me a lot of fun stories, and he's great storyteller. And he said he was a Marine in the Gulf War. And I always mention to Ian, like, I need you to meet this guy. And after 2 years of knowing him, like, I was about to move to Wisconsin, and my buddy was And I say buddy, like we're pretty close in age, but he's as old as my dad. But he
Yeah,
ended up
wasn't he like in his 50s or something?
he's
50s or
he turned
60s?
66 this year.
All right, there we go.
Um,
Golden years.
and he ended up moving, so it's like I need Ian to meet this guy, and we got it to work out. Ian came up for the weekend or something, and went to go see him at his house, and funnily enough, Ian and him got to talking, and legit what Ian did in the military, my buddy did like 30 years earlier. Like, same exact thing.
Same job. It was pretty cool. It was actually because I was talking to him, I didn't realize that he was an officer at first, and then so he was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, I went through, officer candidate school and blah blah blah, and then he's like, I was being an FDO running my tent. I went, wait a minute, FDO, wait a minute, sir, were you an artilleryman? Yeah, I ran the FDC. No way, I was FDC too. Yes.
and and then he's explaining like, or no, I think you started off explaining like how it runs, and he's like, dude, I had to do that by hand instead of typing stuff in. He's like, I had to write out everything to make sure I got the right shot.
Oh yeah, because I remember we were going back and forth and we were talking about, because for anyone out there who might be a little confused, my job in the military was artillery rockets, and the simplest way to explain that is, if any of you guys remember Battlefield 4, those maps, you could get the M142 rocket truck. That's my job. That's what I did. If you don't know what that is, just look up Battlefield 4 M142 and you'll see that was my job. That was what I did. And those only got implemented in like 2006. So before that, all the artillery was all cannons. And when I went through my schooling, I had to learn how to do all of my nerd stuff for the cannon side before I would eventually change over. So when him and I were going back and forth, and I'm telling him, I was like, oh yeah, for rockets, I just do and do my thing, and it's good. And he's sitting there going, they don't do the charts and darts no more. And I go, no, don't worry, they still do charts and darts, which is where you actually manually do your calculations and stuff. And that was absolutely hilarious to me. It's really cool because on one hand it shows you how much things have changed over time from the past to now, but on the other hand it also shows you how much has stayed the same. I mean, I remember talking with him, and like all the lingo that he used, all the terminology, all the procedures that he was telling me about. I'm like, all of this sounds identical to the stuff that I did. It's just that the method of input was different. And so it was, God, it was super cool to be able to talk with somebody and not only one, have him understand what I did, but two, we could compare, like, hey, I did this. Did you guys do that? Oh, yeah, I did that too. Did you do this? Oh, no, we changed this a little bit. And actually, we do this now. And so it was just like this. Oh, man, it was something else.
Just, I, then just imagine, just for a second, me sitting there. Because I was, it's not like I just dropped Ian off and said, hey, go meet my friend. I was sitting on the couch too. Like, I barely said a thing. I'm just like,
him.
I honestly, I thought it was really cool, but it's like, Ian's talking. Then my buddy is like losing his mind, like, just like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. And then he starts talking, and then Ian's losing his mind. Oh yeah, that's so similar. And I'm just going back and forth. Like, I don't know anything they're talking about. Like a few times I like cut in, it's like, can you please explain this to me? Just so I can at least follow in my head what's going on.
You guys have used 16 acronyms in the last 3 minutes. Can you explain what they mean a little bit? Oh yeah, sorry, break it down. This means this, this means this, this means this, but also sometimes this, and you have to be careful that when you're talking, you don't actually mean the other thing, because the other thing is totally opposite to what you want to say.
And then one of them will think of a different acronym, and then they'll talk about that, and then I get lost because they're talking to each other. Again, I thought it was super cool, and it was a lot of fun, but for me, it's like not coming from that background. It's just a normal civilian who has not
Not
even been to
versed.
boot camp. And I'm just sitting there like they know what they're talking about, but I'd like to learn too.
Joe's sitting there in the middle of the conversation, just listening in, like, ah, yes, these are words that I understand. Makes perfect sense. Hmm. I'll never forget. I think the coolest thing that he had that I loved was the big wooden plaque that he had. I mean, this thing was like 3 feet across, um, and it was a carved out United States Marine Corps field artillery, and it had the USM, the Eagle Globe and Anchor in the center, and it was, I think it was like USMC field artillery, and I was like, that is freaking awesome. I would love something like that. That was, I'm sure it was expensive to make. It looked expensive, you know, it was all painted up and done pretty. So I was like, oof, that's probably expensive, but it'd be something really cool to have. I just have my mug as I was showing. God, come on, as I was showing Joe earlier. This is the mug that had my unit symbol on it now. The old unit symbol, in fact, too, um, because we ended up changing it up. But Tango battery. Unfortunately, I don't know if I mentioned this in past episodes or not, but unfortunately, my unit was deactivated this past year. It was stood down. Um, they're dispersing personnel, and the Marine Corps is shaking things up. They wanted to start up a new unit on the East Coast as opposed to the West Coast. So my old Marine Corps unit exists no longer, which is a little sad. It's bittersweet. On one hand, I get to say I was part of a unit that, is now stood down. It's like a little chunk of history stuck out of time. But on the other hand, it's also like, I won't, in 10, 20, 30 years from now, I won't be able to see a new young minted Marine, and he won't be part of my unit. I won't get to say that, or see what my unit's doing then. So that's kind of the sad part of it. But
Yeah.
should I tell them the
I was
story?
gonna tell you too. He told me the story on how he acquired that mug, and it's quite funny.
Yeah, so this mug belonged to one of our docs. I will I'll cover that up. So there you can see Tombstone Doc, and then I'll just cover his name for
Doc
anonymity
redacted.
purposes. Yeah, Doc redacted there. Um, and so I was telling Joe that when you're processing out of the military, you got to go through, get all these physicals done, make sure that you're okay, and blah blah blah. And this mug belonged to one of our docs who'd been with us for, gosh, I think most of my time in the military. He's a super cool dude. Always loved the corpsman, and he actually left to go do some other training for his next duty station. And it was a few months before I was scheduled to get out. And so as I was going through the medical station, getting all of my tests and stuff done, I was talking with one of our other docs there, also a cool cat, also love him. And I happened to glance over and I see this mug is sitting right there on the table. And I go, "Hey, Doc, is that his mug? Like, is he still here? I thought he left." And Doc turns around and goes, "Oh no, man, he left a few weeks back, to go do his training and stuff." And so I look at him and I go, "Would anybody miss that mug if it were to, I don't know, not be sitting on that table anymore?" And he goes, "No, man, I don't think anybody would miss that mug." And just turns away from me. And so I just scooped up the mug, and every so often I like to go find the doc who this belonged to. I go find him on Facebook and I say, "Hey, don't worry, Doc, I'm taking good care of your mug, buddy." And so this is one of my prized possessions that I hold close to my heart. And I grabbed another one here too for you if you're interested in seeing it. This one was actually a gift from my troops, for when I was getting out, and the guys I had under my charge, they got me this world's best boss. It's from The Office, It's supposed to be for The Office. And what they've done is they wrote in Sharpie right there. It's kind of hard to see, but they crossed out the best boss part on the glass and wrote Ops Chief, because that was my title, was Operations Chief. Instead of putting Dunder Mifflin, they wrote in 511 USMC. And then on the backside, they crossed out The Office and wrote the FDC. And so they gave me this little snow globe, and in fact, they actually gave me this zip up that I'm wearing too, because they were like, "Oh, Corporal, we know you're going back to the cold lands. We had to get you a nice warm sweater." And so they got me this thing. They got me this snow globe. They actually got me a little Bob Ross statue too. And I keep all of them around. I hold on to them because you never forget the people you served with. So they're my most prized possession. I've been wearing this freaking zip up jacket out for like the better part of 4 years now. Never getting rid of it. It's so comfy. It's so nice. I'm sure
You've
you guys have seen it in a lot
you've
of our
worn
videos.
that for so many episodes. I never knew it was a Marine gift.
It
Never.
was. Yep. In case you guys wonder why I'm so fond of this thing, that's why it was some gifts from my troops as I was leaving, and it's my absolute favorite thing. It's warm, it's comfy, it's fluffy, and it just fits perfect. And I suppose while we're on the topic of Marine Corps, not to take up too much speaking time away from you, Joe, I just wanted to wish a happy birthday and Semper Fidelis Marines to all of my brothers and sisters out there in the Marpat, because November 10th, the day before Veterans Day, is the Marine Corps birthday. And Marine Corps will be celebrating 249 years of kicking ass and taking names. So that's pretty cool. And Marines love to make a big deal out of their birthday every year. So if you guys have any Marine Corps friends in your life, whether they be veterans or currently serving, this coming, or shouldn't say this coming because this will be coming out later.
Make
Give
sure to
them,
wish them a happy birthday yesterday.
yeah, yeah. Wish them a happy birthday yesterday, and they'll get a little chuckle out of it. They'll be tickled pink that you know that, because it's Marines love their birthday.
Oh yeah. It's like you, my other buddy, and I don't know if I've met too many other Marines, but I know that's a big deal for them.
Every single year, celebrate. And I'll definitely say this: Marines love to party hard on their birthday. So maybe the following day, wish them a happy Tylenol and Pedialyte as well, because
So on
Marines
Veterans Day, wish them that.
Marines certainly love to party hard on their birthday, but it's a special time of year for us. We get to be loud and proud. Every other time of the year, you'll hear them grumble, Marine Corps. As soon as Marine Corps birthday comes around, it's from the halls of Montezuma. uh,
But other family members I have a cousin who served National Guard, a cousin who served, I think, Army. I know he was stationed in, I shouldn't say I know, either Afghanistan or Iraq in the 2000s. And then the guy who's going to be my best man, his mom served in the Navy. And then Debbie's brother served Air Force. So I know at least
got
one
a good
person
spread.
from each branch. But
Got a good spread.
and then Ian Marine. And but just wanted to say thank you to all the veterans, past, present, future, for your service. Like, I know we've had this conversation years ago, but I told Ian once, and I'm just gonna say the word for word what he said, because I said I don't know if I'd make it in the service. I don't know if you remember what you told me, but you're like, dude, there's so many dumbasses that sign up. You would be just fine. But overall, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, even today, I still think about it. Like, I don't think I ever will. Obviously, just with how, like, leaving the girls, I don't think I could do that. But like signing up for the military, but I don't know if I could handle it. So I really appreciate all the people who do that, have signed up, and have served their country, because that's not an easy thing at all to do.
Yeah, and I mean we from the veteran side we greatly appreciate everyone who thanks us, and I think probably one of the most common sentiments you'll find among a lot of veterans is that as much as we appreciate all the thanks that everyone gets, we didn't join because we wanted to be able to parade around and say, oh, look at me, I served and blah blah blah. I often think of, it's a little cheesy, but if you've ever seen the movie Fury, um, which is about the tank crew in World War II, Shia LaBeouf's character, they call him Bible. He talks about the one verse. Gosh, I can't remember where it comes from in the scripture, but it's the verse that says, "And the Lord asked, Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? And I said, Here am I. Send me." And so, a lot of veterans, they do it because they want to, and the appreciation that everyone gives is such a nice side bonus because of it. And we appreciate everyone's thanks. And there's, at least for me personally, I don't feel like anyone needs to owe me anything. I go get my free meal once a year at like Perkins or something or Denny's, and then that's got me covered. I did what I did, and I enjoyed it. I had fun, and I got to the end of my time, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go do another adventure now. And so that's the long and short of it. And
Well,
so
no,
it's oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, one of the coolest things, once you got out of the Marines, we hung out for an afternoon into the next morning. I went over, and immediately once I got there, you're like, come upstairs, and just like opened a box and just showed me so many cool things that you got overseas and all the different stories.
Oh yeah, it's quite a wild experience to anyone out there who's thinking of joining the military. Um, I'm sure, as you've heard 100 times before, it's a big challenge. It's a very big challenge. It will push the limits of what you think you can do, and it is difficult both physically and mentally. So make sure you really are committed to doing it if you want to go. However, once you're going, stick yourself to it, and you will find that you will go so much farther than you ever thought you could. I think that's honestly the biggest thing about the military. Like when I told you there's so many dumbasses that join up, is that there's a lot of people who join who don't think that they can make it through, and then there they are walking across the parade deck on graduation day. And then there's so many people who join up thinking that they're just going to come in and dominate, and then they hit the first obstacle and they fold like an omelet. So it's a lot of it is up here, and so if you stick yourself to it and push through even the challenges, you will find that you can do so much more than you ever thought possible you know
But with that, we're gonna do some veteran type quotes and then call it an episode. And I'll say this as we're recording, I'd love to hear more stories about your time in the service. If we could just sprinkle them an
i
episode
got
here or there.
I got a lot of them. I'll say that. I got a lot of
I know you've told me a couple that probably wouldn't make it to a video, but
them. I mean, we can censor them a little bit. We can
I,
censor them up just a
I,
smidgy.
if there's anyone who's interested in hearing some of his stories, we have a cleaning episode where he talks about a cleaning, a big cleaning story, which is hilarious. So check that out. But I will go first with my quote from the good old Abraham Lincoln. Honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere who bravely bears his country's cause.
That's a nice one. It's very in direct opposite polarity to mine, which I'm a jarhead. So General James Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, that's what we called him. His quote is, "I come in peace. I didn't bring artillery, but I'm pleading with you, with tears in my eyes. If you fuck with me, I'll kill you all."
Said like a
Those
true
were
Marine.
That was reportedly the words that he said. I believe it was in Iraq or Afghanistan, the early time when he was talking to the enemy forces. True Marine Corps fashion.
But with that, thank you. Sorry, I'm laughing because my buddy who was a Marine, like I said, he had a lot of stories and like they're just repeating in my head. Like the ones I can remember are not good for YouTube at all.
That's how you
But,
know they're good stories.
but thank you guys for watching this. Thank a veteran today, and thank you for BSing with us. Follow or subscribe to become Bud today. We will see you next time when we. I think the next episode after this will be us making a cake.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a good one. That
It,
was a good one. That's
it,
a.
it's a
I mean,
real
the cake
interesting.
isn't good.
The
The
cake is
cake
not
isn't
good,
good, but
but it's
the
funny.
episode is good. But until then, you just make sure you take her easy now and Semper Fidelis.